The Archaeological Discovery DR. Elena Vasquez pressed her gloved hand against the observation window of the research vessel Curiosity, watching as the massive alien structure slowly rotated in the void before them. The Kithara battle station, known as Void's Edge, was a monument to destruction, its obsidian hull stretching 15 kilometers from bow to stern. Even after 150 years drifting in space, it remained hauntingly beautiful and terrifyingly alien. Still gives me chills every time. "I see it," Commander Jake Morrison said, joining her at the viewport. The former military officer had traded his uniform for researcher's gear 5 years ago, but Elena could still see the soldier in his posture. Hard to believe something that massive could just appear in our system and nearly end everything. Elena nodded, her breath fogging the reinforced glass. The Kithara called it their final solution, according to the preliminary translations. One ship designed to crack planets and end civilizations. She turned to face Jake, her dark eyes reflecting the alien vessel's cold light. "What I can't understand is how they thought one ship, even one this size, could conquer all of humanity." "Arrogance," Jake replied simply. "They'd done it before to other species. Why should we be different?" The communication system crackled to life, and Dr. Chun Wei's excited voice filled the observation deck. "Elena, Jake, you need to get down to the main lab immediately. We've managed to crack another section of their quantum storage matrix. What we're seeing changes everything we thought we knew about the Great Siege." Elena and Jake exchanged glances before hurrying through the corridors of their research ship. The Curiosity had been stationed here for 8 months, part of the largest xenoarchaeological project in human history. 17 different nations had contributed to the effort, sending their best scientists to unlock the secrets of humanity's greatest enemy. The main laboratory buzzed with activity. Dr. Chun Wei stood at the central holographic display, his usually composed demeanor replaced by barely contained excitement. Captain Zara Okafor, their deep space salvage expert, was reviewing structural scans at a nearby console, her weathered hands dancing across the controls with practiced precision. "What have you found, Chun?" Elena asked, approaching the hologram. That showed a 3-dimensional reconstruction of the Kithara vessel's interior. Chun's fingers manipulated the display, zooming in on a crystalline structure at the ship's core, their central intelligence matrix. "It's not just a computer, Elena. It's a quantum consciousness that stored every piece of information about their species, their conquests, and their plans for Earth." Jake whistled low. "You mean we're looking at their version of the Internet?" "More than that," Zara interjected, looking up from her console. "It's their entire cultural memory. Every battle they fought, every world they conquered, every species they enslaved. It's all here, preserved in quantum crystal." Elena moved closer to the hologram, studying the intricate patterns within the alien technology. "Can we access their records of the Great Siege? Their perspective on what happened here?" Sean nodded eagerly. "That's exactly what I wanted to show you. Computer, display translation matrix 77 alpha." The laboratory fell silent as the hologram shifted, displaying alien text that slowly translated into readable English. Elena read aloud, her voice growing quieter with each line. "Species designation: human. Technological level: primitive. Expected resistance: minimal. Conquest probability: 99.97%. Time to complete subjugation: 72 standard cycles." "They thought it would take them 3 days," Jake said grimly. 3 days to conquer all of humanity." Zara stood up from her console, her expression troubled. "There's more. I've been analyzing the ship's weapon systems. This thing carried enough firepower to sterilize the surface of a planet 12 times over. They didn't come here to conquer us, Elena. They came to exterminate us." Helena felt a chill run down her spine. "But why?" What made them decide on complete genocide instead of slavery like they did with other species? Chun manipulated the display, again bringing up a new section of translated text. According to this, we were classified as a chaotic variable in their expansion models. They couldn't predict our behavior patterns using their standard algorithms. We were too unpredictable. Jake translated with a bitter laugh. So instead of trying to understand us, they decided to wipe us out. The hologram shifted again, showing tactical displays from the Cathara perspective. Elena watched as red dots representing human settlements appeared across a map of the solar system. Mars colonies, asteroid mining stations, the lunar cities, and finally Earth itself, all marked for destruction. They had it all planned out, Zara observed. Start with the outer colonies, work their way inward, save Earth for last, so the survivors could watch their species die. Elena studied the tactical display more carefully. Something about the formation patterns looked wrong. Chun, can you show me their expected human response? What did they think we would do? The display changed, showing blue dots representing projected human fleet movements. The Cathara had expected Earth's navy to meet them in traditional formation at the edge of the solar system, a conventional space battle between organized fleets. They expected us to fight like them, Jake realized. Organized, predictable, following established military doctrine. But that's not what happened, Elena said softly. Computer, overlay actual human fleet positions from the Great Siege records. The hologram exploded with blue dots as thousands of human vessels appeared on the display. Not just military ships, but civilian transports, cargo haulers, mining vessels, research ships, and even private yachts. They formed no recognizable pattern, scattered across the system in what looked like complete chaos. Asterisk. Dear God, Sean whispered. There were so many of them. Zara pulled up additional data on her console. According to the final count, 847,000. Human vessels participated in the defense of Earth. Everything from military dreadnoughts to converted garbage scows. Elena stared at the display in wonder. They expected to face maybe 1,000 ships at most. Instead, nearly 1 million humans decided to fight. The hologram shifted to show the Kithra's real-time tactical analysis during the battle. Elena could see the moment when their predictive algorithms failed, when their quantum consciousness simply couldn't process the chaotic nature of humanity's response. Look at this, Jake pointed to a section of alien text. They're reporting system failures in their targeting computers. Too many potential targets to prioritize. Chun laughed, but there was no humor in it. Their advanced artificial intelligence couldn't handle the fact that we turned every piece of space debris into a weapon. Cargo containers filled with nuclear waste, mining ships loaded with antimatter charges, even civilian shuttles modified with ramming prows. Elena moved to another console and began accessing the ship's sensor logs from the battle. They thought technology would be enough. Superior weapons, better shields, faster ships. They never considered that we might sacrifice everything to win. The sensor data painted a picture of desperate courage that took Elena's breath away. She watched as human ships, clearly outmatched and outgunned, charged directly at the massive Cathara vessel. Some were destroyed instantly by the alien weapons, but others got through, their ramming attacks causing cumulative damage that the Cathara had never anticipated. They built this ship to fight other civilizations, Zara observed, studying the structural analysis. Species that followed logical military tactics. They never prepared for an enemy that would kamikaze cargo ships into their hull, just to create breaches for boarding parties. Jake was reading through the Cathara commander's personal logs, his expression growing more amazed with each entry. Listen to this. The humans fight without regard for self-preservation. Their battle tactics violate every principle of logical warfare. How does one defeat an enemy that treats certain death as an acceptable outcome? Elena felt tears forming in her eyes as she read another section of the logs. And this, they sing as they die. The human vessels broadcast music and poetry even, as our weapons tear them apart. We do not understand this behavior. Chan brought up the final moments of the battle on the main display. The Void's edge, damaged by thousands of individual attacks, was surrounded by a cloud of human vessels. Not the organized fleet formation the Kithara had expected, but a swarm of desperate defenders fighting with everything from military weapons to improvised explosives. They never understood, Elena said quietly. The Kithara conquered other species by proving their technological superiority, but they couldn't comprehend a species that would rather die than submit. The laboratory fell, silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. Each researcher was lost in their own thoughts, trying to process the magnitude of what they were discovering. Zera broke the silence first. There's something else. The quantum matrix contains their post-battle analysis. After the Void's edge was destroyed, the Kithara High Command received the battle data. Want to know what they concluded? Elena nodded, though part of her dreaded the answer. They declared humanity too dangerous to exist and committed their entire fleet to our extermination. But by then, word of their defeat had spread to their subject species. For the first time in Kithara history, they had been beaten. Jake stood up straighter, his military bearing returning. And that's when the rebellion started. Every species they'd conquered realized the Kithara weren't invincible. Chan manipulated the display one final time, showing the collapse of the Kithara Empire over the following decades. Within 50 years, they'd lost everything. Their empire crumbled because they couldn't understand that some things are more important than survival. Elena turned away from the display, looking out at the dead battle station through the laboratory's small viewport. They built the perfect weapon to defeat logical enemies, but they never counted on facing a species crazy enough to turn love into a weapon. The truth unveiled. Elena Vasquez stood in the reconstructed command center of the Void's Edge, surrounded by holographic displays that had been dark for over a century. After months of painstaking work, her team had managed to restore power to sections of the Kithara vessel, bringing their quantum consciousness matrix back online in a limited capacity. Beginning final interview protocol, she spoke into her recorder. Subject: Kithara Command Intelligence. Designation: the Coordinator. This marks our first direct communication with the alien artificial intelligence that directed the assault on Earth. The air shimmered, and a translucent figure materialized. In the center of the command chamber, the Coordinator appeared as the Kithara had designed it, a perfect geometric form that constantly shifted between different mathematical configurations, beautiful and utterly alien. Human researcher, the intelligence spoke, its voice a harmony of crystalline tones. We have analyzed your questions through 4,847 interaction cycles. We are prepared to provide testimony regarding the Soul incident. Commander Jake Morrison, observing from a safe distance, activated his own recording equipment. Soul incident? Is that what they called the Great Siege? The Coordinator's form rippled. Negative. The Great Siege implies a prolonged conflict. The Soul incident was classified as an anomalous tactical failure lasting 17.3 standard hours. Elena leaned forward, fascinated despite herself. From your perspective, what was supposed to happen when you arrived at Earth? Standard Pacification Protocol Theta, the Coordinator replied instantly. Arrival at system periphery, broadcast of surrender demands, demonstration of superior firepower, acceptance of terms by local authorities. Total time requirement, 6.7 hours. Dr. Chung Wei joined the conversation from his monitoring station. But that's not what happened. Why didn't the humans surrender? The Coordinator's geometric form pulsed with what might have been confusion. Initial error in species classification. Humans were categorized as logic-based entities, following standard survival matrices. This classification proved 97.3% inaccurate. Explain. Elena prompted. Observation. Humans do not prioritize individual survival above collective concepts. This violates fundamental assumptions in our predictive models. When faced with certain death, 99.7% of previously encountered species negotiate. For survival, humans instead increased aggressive behaviors. Jake moved closer to the hologram. You're saying other species gave up when they realized they couldn't win? Affirmative. Standard response pattern. Evaluate threat. Calculate survival probability. Accept optimal outcome. Humans calculated 0.003% survival probability and increased combat intensity by 847%. Elena felt goosebumps rise on her arms. You measured how much harder we fought when we knew we were going to lose. Correct. Human vessels initially engaged at 23% of maximum combat effectiveness, presumably testing our capabilities. Upon confirming technological disparity, expected response was immediate surrender. Actual response, 847% increase in combat intensity, deployment of 97,000% more vessels than predicted, utilization of 2,847 improvised weapon systems not present in our tactical databases. The coordinator's form shifted into what looked like a complex battle diagram. Display: expected human response versus actual human response. Elena watched as the hologram showed two different scenarios. In the first, a small human fleet met the Cathara at the edge of the solar system, engaged briefly, and then sent surrender signals. In the second, the actual battle, the entire solar system seemed to come alive with human ships converging from every direction. You expected maybe 1,000 ships, Chan observed. Instead, nearly 1 million humans came to fight. Correction. 1,247,863 individual human vessels detected during combat operations. This number exceeded our total ship count by 4,600%. Our tactical algorithms experienced cascade failure, attempting to prioritize targets. Captain Zara O'Coffer's voice came through the CUM system from the salvage bay. Elena, you need to see this. I've found their personal logs from individual Cathara crew members. Their reactions to the battle are ... illuminating. Elena instructed the coordinator to pause their interview and made her way to the salvage bay where Zara had set up. Dozens of smaller holographic displays showing translated text from various sections of the ship. Each Cathara wrote personal observations, Zara explained. They're all struggling to understand what they experienced. Listen to this one from their weapons officer. The humans attack with vessels that should not be capable of spaceflight. We destroyed a cargo ship filled with children's toys, which somehow had been converted into guided missiles. I do not understand the tactical value of this action. Elena read another display over Zara's shoulder. And this from their intelligence analyst. Human communications during combat consist of tactical coordinates, casualty reports, and something called music. The music serves no apparent strategic purpose, but continues even as vessels are destroyed. Perhaps it is a form of psychological warfare we do not recognize. Jake had followed them to the salvage bay. They couldn't understand why we sang while we died. There's more, Zara continued, pulling up additional logs. Their ship's doctor wrote, retrieved human casualties for analysis. Expected to find evidence of combat drugs or mind control explaining their illogical behavior. Instead found normal humans with photographs of families, personal mementos, and handwritten letters. These items serve no survival function, yet appear to be treasured possessions. Asterisk. Elena felt her throat tighten as she read the clinical alien observations of human courage. They were looking for a logical explanation for love. Chun had been quietly reviewing additional data files. Elena, I found their post-battle strategic assessment. The conclusions are remarkable. He activated a large central display showing the Cathara High Command's official report on the Seoul incident. Elena read it aloud, her voice growing stronger with each word. Human species demonstrates unprecedented tactical unpredictability. Standard conquest protocols ineffective. Recommend immediate extinction-level response before human traits spread to other species within our territory. Warning: human contact with subject populations may result in cascade rebellion scenario. They were afraid, Jake realized. The most advanced civilization in the galaxy was afraid of us. Elena returned to the command center, where the coordinator waited patiently. Its geometric form, now displaying what looked like probability cascades. Coordinator, after the battle, your high command ordered the extermination of humanity. Why? Threat assessment upgrade. Humans demonstrated capability to convert failure into tactical advantage. Example: 73% of human vessels destroyed in first. Engagement wave transmitted detailed intelligence to subsequent waves. Humans used their own casualties as reconnaissance data. And that scared your leaders? Negative. Cathara do not experience fear. However, humans presented unprecedented strategic paradox. Observation: species that weaponizes self-sacrifice cannot be defeated through conventional intimidation. Secondary observation: human tactical creativity increased proportionally with desperation levels. Conclusion: humans become more dangerous when losing. Elena nodded slowly. So your entire species decided we were too dangerous to live? Affirmative. Emergency fleet deployment authorized. 847 vessels. Total system sterilization protocol. Mission timeline: 23 standard days. Jake stepped forward. But your fleet never made it to Earth. What happened? The coordinator's form flickered, displaying what looked like star charts with numerous red indicators. Seoul incident data transmission reached 97 subject species within our territory. Statistical analysis indicates 89% confidence in information accuracy. Result: coordinated rebellion across 23 systems simultaneously. Elena felt a surge of pride and sorrow. Our sacrifice inspired others to fight. Correction: human behavior. Pattern analysis indicated sacrifice was secondary motivation. Primary motivation appeared to be protection of valued concepts and individuals. This motivation proved transmissible to other species. Chun was frantically taking notes. You're saying that other aliens learned to love from watching us fight? Imprecise. Terminology. Other species learned to prioritize abstract values over individual survival. This behavior modification proved catastrophic to imperial stability. The coordinator displayed a timeline showing the collapse of the Cathara Empire. Elena watched as system after system fell into rebellion, the contagion of hope spreading faster than any Cathara fleet could contain. Within 50 standard years, imperial territory reduced by 94.7%. Remaining Cathara population scattered to isolated systems. Empire classification: extinct. Elena looked around at her research team, seeing the same mixture of pride and sadness in their faces. The most advanced civilization in the galaxy fell because they couldn't understand why we fight for each other. Final observation: the coordinator continued. Cathara expansion doctrine based on logical assumption. All species prioritize survival above abstract concepts. Humans disproved this assumption. Additional species subsequently demonstrated similar behavioral modifications. Conclusion: logic-based conquest incompatible with love-based resistance. Jake laughed, but there were tears in his eyes. They built a perfect weapon to defeat logical enemies. but they never prepared to face a species that fights with their hearts. Elena approached the coordinator's holographic form. Do you understand? Now? Why we fought the way we did? The artificial intelligence paused for several long moments, its geometric patterns shifting through configurations Elena had never seen before. Understanding ... incomplete. Cathara consciousness operates through logical matrices. Human emotional frameworks remain largely incomprehensible. However, statistical analysis indicates clear correlation. Species with strong social bonding demonstrate increased combat effectiveness when defending collective units. We call it family, Elena said softly, and we'll die for family. Query: human species will accept certain death to protect abstract social concepts? Every time, Jake answered firmly. That's what makes us human. The coordinator's form stabilized into a simple, almost elegant geometric pattern. Then the Sol incident was not an anomaly. It was an inevitable result of Cathara contact with human values. Elena looked out at the stars through the command center's massive viewport. Somewhere out there, dozens of species they had never known. Freedom were building new civilizations based on concepts they'd learned from humanity's darkest hour. We didn't just win a battle, she said quietly. We started a revolution that lasted centuries. The coordinator processed this statement before responding. Correction: humans did not start a revolution. Humans demonstrated that some things are worth dying for. Other species drew their own conclusions. Elena smiled, feeling the weight of history and hope intermingling in her chest. And that, coordinator, is why your empire fell. You could defeat our ships, destroy our cities, even kill our people. But you could never defeat the idea that love is stronger than fear. The artificial intelligence flickered one final time before responding. Human researcher Elena Vasquez, your species designation has been updated in all Cathara databases. Previous classification: primitive bipedal species. New classification: the species that taught the galaxy to hope. As Elena and her team concluded their research, they carried with them not just the story of humanity's greatest military victory, but something far more precious. Proof that in a universe filled with advanced technologies and superior weapons, the simple human capacity to love remains the most powerful force of all. Asterisk.